Guys, thank you all for stopping by. It is a
And when the
pleasure to have you here.
relationship dynamic
This channel's
ways,
purpose is to
because I have
inspire,
another
motivate, cultivate, and uplift
session to share with you guys.
anyone
What I'm
who's
going to call
currently
these,
in
but
a
so far I've been
space
calling
where
them
they're ready
sessions,
to grow
lectures,
and
segments,
evolve
what have
past
you. It
their
doesn't matter.
most outdated
How are you guys
version
doing
of
today? I hope
themselves.
everybody's doing
So
fine.
every day that you tune in,
So today,
you're learning something along the way.
it just dawned on me that
I
we have a lot of
congratulate you on your
misconceptions.
journey to self-growth and expansion.
I said gendo.
There's going to
Gender
be sessions where I talk about
stereotypical
relationships,
misconceptions.
spirituality,
So,
finance,
if you break that down,
self-improvement,
basically,
boundaries, knowledge of
wide-held
self,
beliefs about genders that are
religion,
just simply
and everything in
baseless. They're not
between.
true. And
I
I'm gonna
might
help
even
you break
throw
it
in
down
there
right now.
some
But first, I just want to say
technical
this:
or
if
scientific
you're a man out there
knowledge
and
that I've
you're looking for
acquired
your woman
in my
and you're
career.
evolved, you're
Thank
doing
you
the
all so
work,
much
you're
for your
healing,
time.
you're growing,
Let's begin.
and you know you're one of those guys that you could be among guys that are not so great, but you kind of pull back and you have your own little world, but you kind of know how to mingle with the ain't shit dudes and still maintain your integrity. And you know how to mingle with guys
I want
that
to
are of
talk
a
a little
certain
bit about
decorum, a certain
relationships today.
caliber, and they're doing more
Men
purposeful
and
things with
women
their lives
have
and their time.
each
You
a
kind of know how to
natural,
swing and move
specific,
from work the room, so to speak. That's a gift.
and
And
unique
while that's a gift, I
function
want you guys to just keep
when
in
they
the back
come
of your
together to
minds
form a
that
union,
because
also known as a
there's this
relationship.
unspoken rule that when men give
And
a report
the
about
energies that a woman
specific
operates
woman,
in
let's say
must
you're
be honored
interested in
by
a
the
woman
man
and you bring it to
for
your
the
boys and
man
girls,
to
you're like, God,
receive
man,
the
y'all gotta look
respect
at this. I think I found the one, blah, 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 blah,
and
blah. And you go in and you start telling these dudes, be careful
the
with
the
that.
sense of reliance, because I know men govern
It's like just a habit
the
that many men do that
dependency
because they're so excited. They want to kind of show their boys,
faculties
or
of the
they want to kind of
relationship. A man will feel
share the
validated
good
and
news
feel more
or what have you.
masculine when
But a
he
lot of y'all
can
have
be
snakes
dependent on.
around you
And we're
that
talking about masculine men. I'm not
if you
talking about
reveal to them
any other type
what
of
good
man
you
that
have
isn't
found, they're
masculine.
not going to be
The
cheering you on. They're
masculine
not going to be
man
happy for you. They might sing with
relies
you
on
and be
his
happy
woman
for you.
depending on
But
him, and we'll go
sometimes dudes
into
will come out of the
how
woodwork
men who
with
have
these erroneous,
come out of the
weird, and
natural
it doesn't
order
even
and the
have to be
natural
out the
balance
way.
of their
It could just be
manhood
some type of like, I
utilize
think I
this
might have seen this girl before. I
dependency
think she
to
looked
their
like somebody I might have.
advantage to
They might
create
just
an
put a
emotional
little seed of doubt in your mind
codependency, somewhat like an
to get
addiction,
you to question
right?
the integrity of this
For nefarious
connection, the
purposes,
integrity of the
for
woman that you're
egoic
interested in,
purposes,
and it
right?
changes the way that you
But
view her.
that's another
And
topic.
from
I'm
there
talking about
on,
a
when a
healthy
man's
masculine
view is
man and
changed
his
about a
role,
woman,
his function in his
let's just
manhood,
call
and
it a
how that
wrap,
coincides
because
with the woman, and
he goes based
him
off of his
receiving
views.
this
Men are
respect and
very
this
visual.
sense
So
of
when you think about
dependency from his
viewing, I'm
woman
not necessarily
requires
talking
that
about
he
the
honors her
visual
in
of
her
like the
healthy
aesthetics of the
feminine.
exterior, but view also
The
as in
man must
perception. Like,
remember
how do
that
you
the
receive
more
this
he
woman?
uplifts his
What do you
woman,
think of
the
her?
more
Do you
he
think of her as,
supports her, the
the
more he
potential mother of your
validates her
children, your
making
wife,
good
someone that can
choices,
partner, you can build with?
right?
Those
Once
things
the
are
connection is made,
integral to how a
you want to
man will
feel
sow
that
his
kindle,
efforts and
that
invest into that
flame
woman. So
with
if a
positivity.
nigga could come
If you're
in
constantly
and
spritzing
just sow
water
a
on
little
it,
seed of
dampering it
doubt,
down, don't expect there to be an
sow a little
engulfing
seed of
flame. You're only
like,
hurting yourself.
I may
And
have
so
this or I may have that, or I
when a
heard,
man can honor
all it
that a
takes is
woman
just for
wants
that one little
to,
speck of doubt,
you
that
know,
one little
once there's been
tiny
an
little
understanding, let me go back. Once
statement.
there's been an understanding,
And
because we're talking about the
especially if
joining
it's brand
process.
new, this is why
Once
I
there's been an
discourage
understanding
anybody,
and a
man, woman,
compatibility
whomever, stop
check,
telling people who
right?
you're talking to,
Then
who
there
you're
is
dealing with.
this joining
Form your
between man
own
and
opinion
women
of a
in their
person before
union,
you start bringing
and that
people
is
in your
the
shit.
spark,
I
right?
can't
There's the
stress that enough.
chemistry, the
The same way when
compatibility.
you're working
Those
on
are
something meaningful to
components
you,
that could
move
create a
in
little spark, a little,
silence. Y'all sabotage your
desire.
own
But in
love
order to
life. A lot of
create
people have
a
destroyed their
burning
own
flame, we have
potential
to cater
connections because
to
they
the
run their
embers,
mouth
and we
and
have
they're
to
not
keep on
cognizant of the
fueling that
people that they
love,
have around them,
pouring in more love,
lacking
more
hella
validation, more
self-awareness,
honor,
right? right?
when a man makes a woman
And
feel safe and
let's just say
heard
you're not there
and
yet,
honored,
where you're
like
this
she's
super
honorable,
self-aware person.
not questioning her
I'ma just
virtues. I
go by
mean,
this rule
sure,
of
that
thumb.
should be assessed before
You
the
should not be
joining. You don't
opening.
do
It's
that
just like
once you've
pregnancy.
created the
When you
spark.
are
And I think a lot of people
just getting
confuse the
the form
steps
of something,
of,
there's the
of, of what a
conception of this
true
person that you
healthy
just met. You
union
have all
will
these
look like,
feelings. You're
because
so giddy.
they're
You're on this
ideally
high. You're on
basing
cloud
it off
nine.
of
You're,
a lot of their past
enjoy that.
traumas.
Let that be
They're
for
basing it
you.
off of the
Let that be
toxic
your time
relationships
to
that they
just
have
enjoy
engaged
that.
in and what they've seen,
Even if it's not
play
something
out
that's
in the
going to
lives
end
of
up
those that
working
are
out in the
around
long
them.
term,
So
but
they have
just
to
the
sort of
experience of that, because
reconfigure
in that
their
process,
minds to
it's
to
creating
to
intimacy.
court
When
in
you
a
preserve
proper order
intimacy,
in
you
order
have
to
a higher chance
alleviate
of finding out
for
whether
any
this
kind of
person is
friction
truly
or
for you
nicking or
without
nagging
any exterior outside
or
infiltration,
negging. These are
contamination,
all kind of
sabotage,
synonymous in their
whatever.
own right.
I mean, it happens more
But
often than
these
not.
are
I've seen
things
it
that
play
will
out,
hinder
and I
the
know
growth
how,
of a healthy
I know how guys
relationship
like to
that
think,
has potential to
oh
grow
my
into
God,
a
my
long-term
bro said
commitment
he
or
might have seen
marriage.
this woman, or he might have met her back in middle school, and
Now,
her sister, cousin, brother, uncle,
I want
sister,
to mention
daughter,
something.
sister-in-law, and some way,
Men in
somehow their family,
particular
this, that, and the
love
third, or
when
whatever,
women
and she slept with
show
my
them
man. If you'd have let those
respect,
type of
like they
things
respect their
deter you from
decisions.
finding out if
When
a
women
person is
respect
truly a
the
match for you,
man's
you got bigger problems out there.
opinion
You got
or
bigger
his
problems.
um,
You got bigger problems. You got
final
to start with
word
your
on a
friend group,
topic,
selecting
like
good
they can
friends,
come
knowing who
together
you're
and
sharing
kind of
what with,
discuss
and
it,
when,
weigh some
right?
options, but at the
That's
end of the
about
day, she
discernment.
trusts
A
and
lot of you guys
depends
are
on
still
his
not yet at
final
that place where you
judgment,
can
and
invite
knowing that he is
someone
sort
that
of
can hold that
able
space of
to
a
see
wife,
things from a more logical
because you
standpoint,
rely
right?
on your friends
But
for
the the
something
the,
that you
the
should be cultivating
balancing
within your
dynamic
own
that a lot
life.
of
You should be
courting
cultivating your
and
own discernment.
relationships, when they're
Stop relying
dating,
on your
people
friends'
lack this process
judgment,
of
right?
honoring
I
the
mean,
feminine,
that's judgment. That's not
and they
even like
wonder why there's so much cacophony
discerning.
and
These
chaos
people are probably
in the
not even
mix,
connected to
because
their own spirit,
there's an
let alone to
intrinsic
the Most High
need that
God.
needs to be met at the
And you're
core
taking
center of
anything that
the
they're saying and you're
feminine
internalizing it
body. Her
subconsciously.
etheric
You want to
body needs
internalize
to
it
be
because your
validated.
pride is on the
It
line.
needs to
Just close
be
your mouth. Keep that
honored.
shit to yourself. Get a
She
journal.
needs to feel
There's
heard.
nothing wrong
And
with a
that's a
man
part of the
journaling.
security,
That way
because
you can
if
hold
she's
yourself
relying on
accountable,
you to make
and you don't get,
decisions,
if you're worried
then
about
she
getting
needs
swept
to
off your
feel
feet,
like
and
she's
it's gonna,
somewhat
if I
contributing
go head
as the
first,
help
and I
meet
just, I
to
don't share
help
this with somebody who's gonna
contribute
keep me accountable.
her
Keep yourself
emotional
accountable.
and
Keep
intuitive
yourself accountable. It's gonna make you
uh,
strong in the long run. It's gonna
perspective
make you a better
into
leader.
making that
It's gonna make you
decision,
more decisive. It's
right?
gonna make you more head
Again, we're talking
focused,
about healthy masculinity and
logical,
healthy femininity. We're
right?
not
You're
talking
not going
about
off of the fucking
anything else
emotions
at
of
this
some man who
time.
may have
So if
met
anything
this woman in
sounds
the
like
past, may
it's
have
a
tried her but got
it's
brutally denied,
fairy
right?
tale, or it's just
Because
not
his
normal,
character is
I think
shit. I mean, know
I
who you're
would suggest
talking
that
to,
one may
guys.
check if they
Know
have
who you're
become
getting these
extremely
types of
acclimatized to the
these
toxicity of modern
feedback
relationships,
from.
instead of
Someone could be
delving
feeding you
deeply
back
into the true core
the
desires and
regurgitation of what
needs.
they could
Not
not,
even just
have
desires.
had
Desires are like
access to,
passionate
and they're
wants, but
still
the
bitter
core
about it,
needs
and
of
they don't
men
want
and
you to
women
enjoy it. They don't
in
want you
healthy
to have that.
relationships.
And I don't want to see
So
that for
thinking
any of
about
you. I
this,
want you guys
guys,
to see things
how
for what they truly are,
a man
you know?
could
That's my
function
goal
well
here,
in
is to
his
get you to wake up
masculinity
to be
by
able to be the
receiving the
leader of your
respect
own
and by
discernment.
giving that reciprocal energy of
And that
honor
starts with
to the
being
woman.
your own
You know,
accountability
we're
partner. You got
talking
to
about
figure out how to
balance
do that
here.
without the
And where there's
input
balance,
from
there's life.
everybody in your circle.
There's life,
Because not
there's
everybody
fruit
in
in
your
the
circle is
relationship
really in
that
your corner.
creates that sort of symbiotic
Okay?
relationship,
So I just wanted to
right?
preface by saying that.
One
The
gives, one
second thing I'm going to
receives,
say is,
and
men,
these are both complementary
while
to one
there is
another.
caution,
Does that make
the caution
sense?
part of it, I'm
Like,
going to give you
a
guys
woman
something
doesn't
that I
really,
know
a
for a
woman
fact
might
because I just
desire respect
experienced this.
and
And
demand
I
it at
know
that,
this
maybe,
goes on
perhaps, right?
more
Depending on,
often than not.
each
And many,
woman
many
might have
women
a
can tell you
certain,
this. Let me tell you something. If you
depending
want
on
to
her
have a
own
good woman
experiences and her background, she might desire
who
a lot of
maybe she's
respect,
not
having more
100%
masculine
at
energy.
her
And this has nothing
most,
to do with gender,
healing
but
is a
more
spectrum.
of an
Healing
energy
is an
maybe
evolutionary processing. It's an
but
ongoing
again,
thing
with
because there's
personal
gonna always be
experiences, she
challenges.
might
There's gonna
require more
always be
respect
things that
depending
might
on the kind
injure
of
you.
work that she
So
does. Maybe
healing
she's
is
always
expected
demeaned
to
in her
be
workplace if she works
a
at a high level
ongoing
corporate
journey. It's
office
not
where
a
men are
destination that you
always
can
walking all
arrive
over the
to.
women, and when she
Correct?
comes home she wants to feel
Okay.
like
So
my
maybe
person
this woman
respects
has
me
not
and
fully
honors me. But I
embraced
don't want to digress
all
into
of
that
the
tangent
shadow
too
parts
much,
of
but to kind
maybe
of
some
reel it back,
things that she's healing from, but she's done a lot of internal work.
there is a
And maybe
symbiotic
she's not there
relationship
where
that its
she's able
core
to really
center
quickly,
is
often,
based on a fundamental
one
need
conversation,
that the
just
masculine
know
and
how
the
to
feminine
decipher
energy
and
needs
pick
in order to
a man
thrive, and that
properly.
cannot be
But it
denied.
doesn't take her long.
Without those
So
faculties
I'm
being
going to just
constantly
caution you about
fueled
the
and
types of
replenished
men
and
who
poured
have
into
not
the
been in a
relationship, you
woman's
can
life
expect
long enough to
failure, you can
judge her or
expect
speak on
hiccups, you can
her
expect
or say
problems,
certain things. But
you can
these men
expect
are so
disagreements,
bitter when
right?
they find out that this woman has learned
And
them,
when I break down
right?
my personal relationships,
Understand
I have
that if a
studied
person has not
particularly
been with
what makes
someone or has
me
not been
feel
in
secure
contact
and
with
happy
someone
and soft and
in
feminine
maybe,
and balanced,
I'm going to
right?
just say this, if someone
And
has not been in
some of the
contact with
things that
someone
I've learned, I've seen
in the
across the
past
board
month
in
or
many
two,
other relationships that I've
they don't
observed
have
and studied.
updated feedback to give you about that person. They can only tell you what they speculate, right?
So,
Because I know men
with
like to talk. Men love
understanding
it when they talk. They like
oneself,
to
you
share
can
notes,
really
and
get
this
a
is how we
good
get the spread of
understanding of
narcissism,
those
because people
around
think that
you
they can
and
achieve what
the
someone else
energies around
has,
you,
and it's all,
because
it
you
stems from
understand yourself.
pride,
This is why
lust,
the first
covetousness.
principle
Like
is
the
knowing
seven deadly
yourself.
sins
The
plagues
more
men
you
a
know
lot
yourself is the more you
because,
can
and
recognize
I'm gonna go
what
into
kind
this
of
in a
throws
little
you
bit,
off a little bit,
in a
what
little
kind of
bit. Just
feels
be
not
patient. I'm
so
gonna go
right, what
into
feels
the seven deadly
ingenuine.
sins
When
and
you're
why it
real
has a
with
twist
yourself,
on
when you
men,
practice being real with
especially,
yourself,
right?
you can sense when
Women too,
someone's
but
not being
especially men.
real with you.
I'm going to discuss
And
with
so
you
this
if
is
a
how I'm able
person
to
does
decipher
not
when a
have
man
any
comes into
contact
my
with someone in
life.
maybe 1 or 2
Ladies,
months,
listen
maybe three
carefully.
months
When a
at
man comes
most,
into your life
they don't have anything valuable
and
to
he
give you
comes
about
with
that
all
person,
his
especially if the
speculations and
character of the
everything,
person shows
you know,
true that they're
he's
the
at a
type of
point where
person
he's
that's always
ready to surrender
growing,
his
learning,
love to
evolving, and
you,
changing. You got to know what type of
but he's
person you're dealing with,
unsure.
right?
And you know, instead of
So
dealing
it
with the
behooves you,
uncertainty
men,
in
learn
a
the kind of
healthy
women that
way
you're courting.
by,
Take
you
time
know,
during the courting
continuing
phase
to
to get to know
do
the
his
person,
part and
because that
pouring
will give you
into
a
it,
good indication of
he,
whether what you
you know, instead of
heard
doing
or
that,
whatever. I
this
mean,
person,
it's
this
childish,
man
but
would
it's true. A
pour
lot of men like
into,
to
you
go based
know,
off of what
the
they heard,
relationship poisonous thoughts of,
and they
you
make
know,
crucial decisions
maybe
to, really discard some women that are
bringing
just
up
like
experiences from his
being
past
brutally
and
attacked by men
assuming that
who
you
have
are going to be,
no
you
maturity
know, you're going to
whatsoever.
act
They
in a
have
similar
no
way where the
immature,
experience will be the
emotional
same, and he sort
maturity
of
to
puts
learn
you
how
on
to
the
walk
examining
away,
table to
and
kind of
walking away
make
when someone
you
breaks
prove
off a
yourself
commitment
when it
or a
should just
potential
be
commitment with you. And
you know,
sometimes, let me
we're
tell you
you know,
something,
if
some
that's
of
the
these men
case, we
who
need to take it
slander
back to
women
courting.
after
In
they
courting,
realize that
there
the
is
woman is
no
not going to move
commitment, there
forward
is
into a
no
relationship with them,
exclusivity. It's
is
just a
because they
courting
expected
process that,
with their
you know,
prideful
anyone
self
can court
that a
you,
woman would
right?
just die to just
Ideally,
be,
because that's how
to
people
get a
get
ring
into these
from them, to be their
situationships and dead end
girlfriend.
relationships,
And it hasn't
because
even matured
they
past
don't
the honeymoon
understand the
phase,
stages of
right?
relationships.
A
Let me
lot of
just
these
break it
men
down.
think that because most
This
women
man,
are
instead of
pressed
pouring
for, and I mean, I
into the
want to say most
relationship
women, not
the
anymore at that. More and
care,
more women
the
are starting to
love, and
value their
the things
peace
that you need,
over
and continuing
the
to do that
potential
to
of being
see if
chosen by some man,
there is a
if it's not a healthy
continuation
man.
of this
So, with that being said,
mutuality
more
that
women are
fuels
likely to
him
get
in his personal
slandered by
life
men
and adds to
who
his personal growth.
realize that they
He
don't
might,
have
you
all
know,
that it
act out of
takes to
fear
get that woman to
and
want to commit to them.
accusations
It's no longer about
and
would a
traumas,
man
and
commit to
that's how
me and
I
give me
know
his ring
that
and
he
be
hasn't
loyal
done
to
enough
me and let
healing.
me be the only woman in his life. Like, it doesn't matter how
Because let's
fine
say,
he
for
is, it doesn't
example,
matter
if
how
I
much money
do
he has, it doesn't
something
matter anything about
that
anything.
triggers him,
If his
a healed man will
values are
come
not
to you and say,
aligned,
you know,
that woman is
I
more
don't really
likely to
like
say, you
how
know what,
that
we're
made
not
me
aligned.
feel.
I'll
I
pass.
don't really
And
think that that's something that
they
I
might
want
have
to
shared
experience
some
again. I didn't expect
memories,
that
like,
coming from you,
like
or
getting to know
whatever
you memories, like,
conversation he
really
has with you.
cool,
It is some
experiences. And if
conversation
that man is
to
really,
address whatever he
attached to
feels
her, he
and
might
to kind of
feel,
gain some
hurt
clarity
by
on
that.
why
And
it occurred.
If a
heard
man
because
is
he's
hurt,
so
but he's not
delicate with
emotionally
the
mature
beginning
to say, you know
stages
what,
of the
I'm hurt.
relationship.
Dang, I might
He
just need to, like,
understands
you
that
know, work on myself,
when
or
you're
maybe
growing a little
somewhere down the
plant,
line.
right? Which is the
we can
relationship.
reconnect.
The little roots
If he's
barely
immature,
have
you
an
have to try to
anchor.
make
It
sure
doesn't
that no
have
man
a
gets the
fully
experience that you
formed
had with
root
that woman.
system. So you have to give it
He has
time.
to make
And in
sure
that
that
process,
no man
you
gets
can't
to
just be so
see
quick
the
to rip
beautiful
it up
side of
from the
her that
ground and
he
check on the
experienced,
roots.
because
And
it's too
you have to
painful
kind of give it
for her to
time
have
to
a happy
flourish
ending
and expect
if
that things will
she
come. It's just how
walked
you
away from
handle it.
him. Men need to
And
be
so
mindful of this.
that's
Know
how
that
I'm
he
able
does
to
have
tell
a
if a man
ultimate
is
point.
truly ready for a long-term
So when
commitment
you hear a man
is
talking down on a
how does
woman
this
or
man
coming with these
handle
brazen accusations about how she
how
does
does
this
he
and how she
handle
earns her money
feelings
that
of
way,
vulnerability? Does he
like
lash
a
out? Does
man,
he,
trust me, ask, say, how long has it been since you known this person?
does
They'll tell
he
you, 30
pull
days,
everything
a month. Oh,
out
I'm gonna
from
tell
the
the first woman I
ground?
find out.
Does
Listen,
he just toss everything
child,
to the side
there
and
is
just
no
say, you know what, I'm
verification.
all
Nobody's
done.
gonna live up and
He's
tell you
not
what they
ready.
do
He
and
is
how they,
not
like,
faced
there's
his
just
vulnerability.
speculation
He has
that
not done
really
enough,
goes into a lot of
self
these, like,
work
smearing,
to sort of
after this man has been
identify
kind of like
how much of energy he has to
declined,
give a certain
declined in the
situation.
sense that he
He's
knows that what
reactive.
he's been
And a
showing during the
reactive man
courting
is not a
period.
steady man, is not a stable
At
man, it's
this
not a
time, we
sturdy
can't move
man.
forward to be together
You get me?
exclusively.
And as a woman, I need to be
During
able
this
to trust
time,
that when
there are
he
certain things that
responds,
came up
it is a
as huge
response
red flags
that
or deal breakers that
that
prevent us
engages
from
my
moving
higher
forward in a
self.
relationship.
You get me?
And with that, you have
If
to
this
really
man's
consider,
reaction engages my
because someone
reaction,
didn't even make
he's
it to the
he's
relationship
engaging my
stage with
lower
this
self. He's
person,
engaging my
and they
fears,
have all these negative things to
my
say,
wounds, my shadows, my
and they sound just like all
that's
the
not
negative
something
things
that
that he
brings
said
me
about the previous
stability. It
woman.
doesn't allow me
You
to
gotta look at the person you
maintain
see
my
in the situation
feminine. I have to
and
now go
ask
back
yourself,
into
like,
protective mode
so
and
everybody you
see
talk to
how
is a
can I
prostitute? So
protect
everybody you
myself,
talk to
because this
just so
person might
happens
try to
to
hurt me.
be,
What if I've
you
already
know,
opened up to them and they're reacting
a
based off of
hoe?
something that
I mean,
didn't
you
need
really
that kind
start
of
to ask
reaction
yourself
just
these
because they
critical
aren't properly
questions, because
healed?
men be really hurt.
And when
Men
you
be
look at
really,
it
really
like that,
hurt,
you're able to
especially when
make the
they were
decision to
emotionally
say
getting
whether or
attached to
not
other
this
men.
person is ready
And
for
it
a
doesn't
serious
always
commitment with you,
look like
because
manipulation where she
that's a
gets them
red
attached,
flag.
and then,
If you move
it's
forward with
things
a
that
type of
he's not yet worked
person
on in
that
his character that is preventing
treats
him from being
every
able
little
to move
hiccup
forward.
as if
The
it's
woman controls
the
that part
end
of it.
of
And
the
see, this is why
relationship
men
or the
want
end of
so badly to erase the
the
courting process, because it's where the woman
the
chooses whether
union.
this thing goes forward or not. Will I put
I
myself
doubt
in the
you'll ever
position to
feel
be your
truly
girlfriend,
secure.
and we courted and I've seen things that I know I
And I
wouldn't
doubt,
be
because
happy
their
with in a relationship?
insecurity needs
Absolutely not.
you to
So they
always
want you to
be
desire a
in
relationship with them,
some type of
overlooking that they
alignment
have
with
to
whatever
first qualify.
fantasy that they have put
They have
out
to
there
qualify for the
that you should
relationship. And see, when a man
be.
notices that a woman is
It's going to be an
intelligently
impossible thing you will be
keen
feeling
to
before you
her
know it, like you're
choice,
walking
to
on
say, no,
eggshells.
actually, I decline
And
the
that's not
relationship
a
because X,
relationship
Y,
that
Z,
is
1,
healthy.
2, 3.
A
But it
relationship
makes
that
him
is
feel
healthy
like, damn,
makes you feel free, makes you
like, she's
feel
so self-aware,
liberated,
she
makes
knows
you
what she
feel
wants, she's picky,
understood,
she's
safe,
choosy.
guarded,
There's no way that a
protected,
woman that's so
cared
picky,
for.
selfish, and choosy
You
is
know,
going to be out here just
love
giving it
is
up to
more than just
anybody.
providing. Love is, as
You
you
know
know,
what I
when a
mean?
man
Like,
loves a woman, it's more
that's
than
just
just,
not,
making
math is
certain
not mathing, it's not
provisions
really
for,
like adding up.
you
So
know,
again, ask yourself these critical
things that may
questions.
come
How
up,
long
but
will the
it's kind of an
dissatisfaction continue?
enduring understanding. It's an enduring
And
understanding.
you know,
And
ask him, like,
when
so what
you
kind of things,
pluck up
what was your intentions,
the
like, what were you trying to
foundational
do, how did you do
prongs
her at first?
or
Oh,
the
at first I thought she was going
underpinnings
to be
of
my
the
wife, and
relationship
she
that
was going to be
provides the
loving, and
security, you
like, okay, so
cannot
you could start to
expect a
pinpoint for
sturdy
her,
relationship.
because what
As I
changed?
mentioned with the
So
trees and the
you viewed
roots.
her as
If
worthy
you
enough
pluck
to
up
be
the
your
roots,
wife,
don't expect the tree
worthy
to
enough
not
to
topple
hear the
over
most
with
healing
the
cries,
slight gust of a wind.
worthy
And
enough to,
especially if you two
you
are,
know, make
or
plans with,
one
talk about
or
children
both
with.
of
I
you
mean,
are
guys do that when they're spitting game,
attractive
granted, but
or
it's certain things that could
extremely
identify when a man is
um
genuinely
you know yeah,
interested in a
attractive.
woman. There's
If one
that
of the both of you are
combination,
extremely
and when
attractive,
they
you're
start
gonna
to see
attract a lot of wind. It's gonna
those
be so you're gonna
numbers,
go through
you
some
start to think
turbulent
that
seasons
combination, you start to
because
put two and two together.
people are
This is
gonna
why I need
see
men to
that,
start thinking
they're gonna
critically,
want that,
be logical. They
and
say men are so
you know
logical, but
the
really
enemy does
apply
work
that
through
logic
people
to
to
when you
send
hear
distractions
crap
and
about a woman.
temptation and trials styles,
Because
people
a
gonna
lot of
come in
dudes
and try
out
to
here,
throw in their 2 cents
they
and
be
disrupt what you have
blocking.
going
They be
on. And, not
they
all
be like, I
opinions
mean, I want to
or
say cock blocking
advice is
like other men,
sent
but
to
they
you
want to
with,
get you on their
with your
side.
best
That's how they
interest in
cock block you. They're
mind.
not gonna
Sometimes
block
it's
you
sent to just
in a
kind of
way
throw a
that's
little
gonna
monkey
cause you to
wrench in your
be with
head
them.
to
Nah, they're
think
gonna do it
the
more
worst of
sly.
something
Nah,
so
they're
you
gonna
can
go further than
manifest
that.
and lose out on your
Because if
blessings.
you
You got to
find
know how
out
some of these things
that
really
he was
work.
lying and the whole
And if a
time
man's
he
not
knew that he was
grounded in
like
who he is and
checking
what
this
he
woman
knows
out,
and
you know,
how to really,
for example, if
take
you
some
like
time to
me
get into his
and you're a
logical
man,
self
you're liking me,
and,
right?
how to
You know,
also
let's
balance
say
his,
that, things
his
never
feminine
even
side and his emotional
passed,
side to be
we
able
didn't even get
to
to the stage where we even
interpret
like made
emotions
physical contact,
accurately, then
and we didn't even kiss, we
he's
didn't hold hands,
susceptible
we didn't go on
to
any dates, nothing.
what
We were just
his
talking,
his
and
girl
it
cousin,
didn't
who
work
might
out.
just be a low-key
And
hater,
the
or
guy that it didn't work
God
out with
forbid, like,
is
if
your
this man has a
distant
mother
friend or
that's just
somebody
so
that you
clingy and
like,
trifling, she
maybe
might,
chop it up with every now and then.
put some
And
thoughts in his head, and
he
he might
tells
just
you
think that that's
all these
gospel
things about
and
me.
run with it,
You
and,
was checking me
end up
out, you was
sabotaging
liking me, you
his
see what I'm
his
saying? Like,
his
you're
relationship that could have
interested in
been,
me. And he goes and he tells you
the
something and
end
you're
all
like,
be
oh
all for
man,
him, his
dang, that's
happily ever
fire.
after. And this
You know,
happens to both men and
you
women.
might feel some type of way
Women
towards
listen to their
me, but later
girlfriends,
find
and
out that,
sometimes their
that shit was
girlfriends
true and he only did
truly
that
don't
because
really want to see them
he didn't
happy,
want you to
especially if they're
have
not
me.
happy.
That's the type of
You have to know
that's
what
the
you're
type of
doing, and
manipulation that
this is
they
why
do.
I
They
have
do cock block, but
this
not in a way
conversation
that
with
not in a way that would
people that
be
I'm
like where he would get in the
involved
way
with.
and
I
try to
let
like
them
make
know that
himself
what
seem macho in front of me.
the
That
kind of
guys used to fight in
relationship that
like
I
really,
when we say that
deadly
we're going to be in
fights
an
about
exclusive
women
relationship, I
back in the
expect
day.
just
Now guys
that.
are
I
doing it
expect
just fake. Like
exclusivity,
they'll cock
right?
block you,
I
try to get
expect
you on their
us
side. Like, yeah, man, you don't
to
want that man. That whole, I mean, I was just gonna fuck her and
I
leave her,
expect
man.
us
They'll
to
talk like that and make you
have a
seem like
level of
nothing whole time in their
privacy
heart.
that allows us to be able to be intimate with one another, and
Whole
not
time.
the kind of
This dude is still
intimacy
recovering from his
that
fantasy
allows
and
for
how he's
interference and
disappointed about
static
what
from
could have been.
outside, disturbances.
This man
It
was
sort of
thinking
has to
about
be
how we
guarded
could have
and
made snow
protected by the both
angels
of us.
in the snow.
And once
You know
I
what I
feel
mean?
that this
Together,
person can do just
right?
that,
He's still he's still thinking about the what if,
it's
what
the
we could
two
have
of us
been,
in it.
but
You know what I
he
mean? Like,
refused to get his
we
shit
have
together.
to
So
come
what
to
he
each
thinks
other
he's
to
gonna forget
figure out
you,
what we're
you know.
doing and what's next.
Especially if you're in a better position, it's
There's
like
no third
men
party
recognize
figuring
when
out
men are
anything
in better
for us.
positions to get the
We
woman that
have to
they
rely on
love.
one
What are they
another
gonna do?
when
They're
you
gonna
think of it
knock that
like
shit out
that,
the park.
right?
Oh, oh nah. They're gonna say
That's a
no.
mature
Hell no.
relationship.
I can't let that happen.
I'm not saying you can't ask for wise
Even if it comes
counsel,
to a
and
point where they even
but
get over it, they still
at a
don't want to
certain
see that
age, at
woman
a certain
with
point in your
somebody
life, you should
happy.
be
Because
able
it's like
to
they
sort
don't want to
of
have that, you know,
know how to
reality
maneuver in a
become
relationship.
true for her.
This is why it's imperative
Even if
to
they end up
really
going with
honor your
another
single
woman,
season.
they could talk
Get to
about,
know
oh yeah,
yourself.
I'm gonna do me one better. I'm gonna find me a better girl.
Get to know who you are.
And they get with a
Get to
girl
know
and they
your
know the girl
triggers,
is
your
nothing
likes, your
compared to the girl
dislikes.
that they had access to
Get to know
for a short bit.
yourself.
They had no chemistry. There was no bond like the bond that they
So
was,
when you meet someone
sharing.
who's self-aware,
Even
it
if they
doesn't
had
scare you
sex,
away.
it
It
wouldn't
doesn't
even
shock
be as
you.
close to a bond
It
with
doesn't
a woman that
intimidate
you didn't
you.
even touch, didn't even
It
kiss.
doesn't make you feel
You know what I mean?
inferior to
So
where you
just bear
have to
in
put
mind
them
how things,
down to
especially if
sort
they
of
didn't
get
get a chance to say that they
the
can't say that they
dominant
smashed this woman, they can't
disposition
say
that
that
you
they
crave as a man.
kissed her or
That's not
anything,
good.
but they
That's
know that
actually
their
doing
heart
the
is still with
opposite of
her,
what you
is
want when
even
you
more
meet
of a
someone who's
hurt to their pride
self-aware.
that they can't say that, yeah man, I
It
fucked
just
that, I love
means
that. They
that.
can't say that. So know what you're doing.
And it's not to say that
Know what
if
you're doing when
one,
you're taking
if the
advice
man
from
is
these
not as
men that he's
self-aware as
with.
the woman, that it couldn't
Okay?
work. It takes intentionality.
I think I
It
went
takes
deep enough
intentionality
on
to
that.
cultivate
Y'all get
that
the
good
picture.
stuff,
I just
right?
experienced this and I know what it's like.
And it doesn't
Oh
happen
my God.
overnight. So if that woman
I
is
know what
patient
it's
with
like.
you while you're
We just gotta
cultivating
like
because she's done the work, she
turn other
wasn't
men
just, hopping from
solely off the
Tom,
fact
Dick
that
to
they don't want
Harry
anybody
to
else to have
Larry.
you if they can't have you. And that's
She took the
dangerous.
time to
That's
just
kind
be
of
to
psychotic.
herself. You need to honor the fuck
This
out of
guy tried
her
to tell
and
everybody
respect
that
the
I was
shit out of her.
crazy, that I was this, and I
Yeah,
was delusional,
you need to
whatever.
honor that.
He tried to make it seem like
Like, okay, all
something that
right,
he was
and
not, but
listen
he
when
ended up
she
exposing
speaks,
himself
because
because the receipts he thought he
There's
had only
wisdom to be
exposed that he really was more lenient,
had, whatever. You know
he
what
was
I'm saying?
more into
There's
me, and
wisdom
then
to be shared and internalized,
and especially in the end, like it just shows
you
like
know?
could.
This is part of the reason
Pretty
why I
much.
come on here just with my
You
voice
kind of
and
try to
not
finesse your way in there,
my
and she was
appearance,
just minding her business. She just,
because I
connected with you on
want
some
I
other
want there
stuff,
to be
and
an understanding of
we
the
was
words that
working
I'm
on that, and you
speaking
kind of wanted to
versus just
go
this
further with it, and
superficial, oh, I'm just
you really
looking at her
wasn't ready
talk. Wow,
to.
she's so attractive. Oh
You got
gosh,
all
she
this
could break that down
baggage, you
really
got all this
good.
other stuff
I
going
love what
on,
she's saying.
and
I get
you
that a
wanted to go
lot
further with her,
on
and
different platforms.
it ended up
And
crashing
I
out
want
because
to
you
make
got
it
too much
clear
going
that,
on.
that's
Not enough,
great. Thank
healing,
you.
not enough
But
evolution, not
do
enough
you really
growth
listen?
taking place for you to
Are you
sustain a
really
relationship with a woman like
digesting
that. So that didn't work out, right?
the gems? Are you really,
I'm not saying anyone's
are you
perfect, but I'm just
admiring the
saying,
stuff that I'm
when a woman
saying?
is really aware of her
And
value,
to me, that
she is
means
going to
more.
acquire
That means we're
equal or
thinking
more,
on the same track. That beats
and
superficiality
that's
and
period.
external looks any day. That's just a plus,
more, or her
right?
equal at minimum, minimum.
I know I come with a lot of I know I come with a lot of
And
plus.
equal is, someone
I
who
get that. Oh my
done the
gosh.
work, right?
But the main thing is being heard,
I don't know
guys.
how my nails came out. I painted them.
I'm not gonna make this too long. This is just an introduction. We're gonna do more of these.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna break down the
I think
steps
I'm
of
gonna
relationships
retitle
the
this
right
video, 'cause
way.
I don't want to make
I
this
kind of
too
just
long.
briefly touched on it, but
So
I
I'm
want to
gonna
break it
repurpose
down
this video and then
from the
put a
moment of,
follow-up the
meeting,
next video, guys. The next
or
video
how
that I
some of
come
these
out with is
relationships
going
kind
to
of just
be about
develop
the
out of
misconceptions,
just,
the gender stereotypical misconceptions. Okay?
sort of a
So this
work
video is just about
situation,
men beware.
or maybe,
Men,
working
please
on a
beware.
project or
There are
something along those
cockblockers
lines,
out
and
there that
how
don't cockblock
romance
to get in a
and,
fight with you. They
learning,
don't like I smoke,
someone might
but
be
they might
compatible with
cockblock
you,
in a way that
how to keep that
turns
going
you,
and how to
turns your
engage
mind,
depending
poisons
on
your
what
mind,
stage
turn
you
you away
are
from the
with
woman
the
that
person so you don't ruin
they
it
know you could potentially
before
have
it's
something with,
time,
because they weren't
But then again, I
in a
also
place
do
where they
believe
could
that,
manage that.
everything
They couldn't
happens for a
afford it,
reason.
dog.
So if something
They
crashes and
couldn't.
burns before
They
you
didn't
felt
have
like you were ready to
the
release
integrity. They
it,
didn't have the
it was
spiritual,
probably something that you
backing.
weren't seeing, that
The
you're being
ancestors
guided
was
away
like,
from and
no, this
protected
one
from.
will drag you
So,
down. And
with all things in perspective, I
nobody's
think
obligated to be in no damn struggle love with anybody.
there are
Trying
things
to
that we
teach them
can
love,
do
loving them.
to
Like, no.
give it
We could
a
be
fighting
cool, but
chance, so to
I
speak,
know what
right?
I'm ready
Or
for,
to at
and
least
I'm
have a
not about to
more
do that.
pleasurable and wonderful
I'm not about to
experience. We
settle.
can kind of give
Men
relationships a
hardly
new
ever
name,
settle. Men, actually, that's not true.
because for
That's
so
part of the
long people have
stereotype that
just been
we should
running
talk about.
from them without trying to really
Men do
understand
settle
how they work, to engage in them in a
marriages,
way
but
that
they
will
hardly
bring
settle
that
with relationships, and
that
that's so
happiness and
backwards.
that desire
I
to
don't know
want
why
to
that
be
is.
in one
They'll
again,
settle.
right? A lot of people are
They'll
saying, I
settle
don't
in a
even want to
marriage.
get
Like, they'll
married. I
end up
don't want a
marrying someone that
relationship.
they never
Well,
really
that's because people have been
truly
misusing
fell in love with. But
marriage and
never settle in
relationships
relationships. Like, when they want that relationship
immensely.
perk, they want that
Immensely.
relationship perk
And
to
it
have
is something that
everything
is
that
so
they
beautiful.
want
I mean,
and
unions,
need. So
we're not
anyways,
talking
I
about
think I'm
fairy
gonna end it
tales. We're
here, and
talking
I'm
about
gonna
unions that,
pick it back
with
up with
deep
the
understanding
stereotypes. Please
and
check
deep
out
work,
the gender
can be just
stereotype
amazing.
misconception video.
They're,
Following this video.
those
We're on
pinnacle
a
moments, those
relationship,
highs,
men and women,
those
feminine,
highs can
masculine
be
role right
extremely
now. That's the
exhilarating, where
kind of
that it's, love
energy I'm picking up
is
a
the
lot, and
strongest,
I have
most higher,
more and more
most
stuff to add
highest
to it. I'm gonna post
frequency.
up one
You
of
will
these
have an
lectures that I
understanding of what that's
recorded,
like. And I know, because I'm close to the Most High, so He
and
shows me these
just to kind of
things.
put my face back out there. I don't want people to
He
think
shows
that this
me
is
how
just
it
some
could
faceless
be,
channel. I just kind of
on a
want to
deep
keep it
level
mainly focused on what I'm
here
saying.
on the 3D, So
And
that's my job,
so
guys. That's what I'm here to do.
I hope
I'm
this
here to kind of open
video
you up to that,
made
and
sense
help you
to you
kind of
guys
bring it down
personally.
to
So I'll
the,
see you guys in the next
manifest
video.
it into your life, hopefully.